Track one, side one, let me in. As I said earlier, you probably think, well, that's very like the Who's Can't Explain. The first half is very like it. Then it goes down a tone and then it comes back up a tone. So you start in this key, C sharp. That famous rock and roll key, C sharp, right? After Rick has sung a couple of lines, they just slide up to D. So you've got, goes out like that, and either Rick or Danny plays, just slide down the neck, right? Now at this point we're in D, and the first guitar solo of the album, if you like, comes in. It's Danny who plays it, and he plays. That's it, it's a very short solo, and what he plays is off a D major scale. And we end up on the F sharp. Then this chromatic line, which is A, B flat B. Bend E, back to the A. And then he spells out a D7th chord. And then B, D, E. So it's like bend, right? We then go to the bridge. This is I had my taste of fame. G, the bass plays, right? And then they play, right? It sure made me realise what a good thing I had. Right, now at this point, play the G again. And this time it goes. Right, so that's G, A, E, A, G. Right, so instead of going down to the E, ends on the A. At this point, they both go. But the other one goes just like the suite in action. So you've got that harmony, it's just like 4 frets up. Right? So now, it's kind of picked. It's a little bit different rather than that. This time they go. When Rick's guitar solo comes in at that point, and I'll do a separate video on Rick's guitar solo. So after Rick's solo, they then key change again, so we're in D, we then go to E flat. And that's where he sings, and I know. And Danny starts playing all these fills, right? Danny plays. Now you might think that's a pretty straightforward one, we're in E flat. He's playing off an E flat major 5-note scale. Back in scale. So he plays. But the bends are slightly different. The first time he kind of slurs it and it's slightly flat. But the second time, slightly higher. Right? Now from now on, they'll play that once, that section of, and then go. So they're up again, this time they're in E. And Danny plays this. It's one of my favourite licks of all time. He plays. Right? Right? Play it really slowly. So he's got a great vibrato. Right, so it's kind of howling. right? And then, so we're going E to G to D to C sharp. So it's kind of an edge. You know, we've got that tonality going on. Second half, and it's alternate pitch, right? Which is D, C sharp, B, B flat, B. Sometimes he plays it like this, and sometimes he plays, right? Fantastic lick, I love that one, right? So we're still in E, and Rick plays that with the wah. Just let the note down. So bend the A, let it down. So we've got still an E, and Danny plays. Right, that's quite an unusual one. It's these sort of country and western. There's double stops, and then a bit like the start of Hey Joe. And we end up on the D. And then we're back to, and that's the end of the song. So we've got Danny's gone. Everyone stops, Rick sings the last line, and then they play an E chord. Now Rick plays a bit down the bottom, it's quite hard to hear. You know, just the sort of thing he'd play at the end of a line, but Danny plays this. Right? So Danny plays that scale, and the actual notes he plays are right? So this time we've got what looks like a C sharp minor 5-note scale, but we've got the flat 5 note, right? And you'll hear this line coming up an awful lot of times. It's similar to what John Sykes played 6 or 7 years later in Thin Lizzy's Cold Sweat, where you go down, but it's either a flat 5 scale or a diminished scale. So instead of going, or like, you know, like maybe Eric Johnson go, that kind of line that all comes off the one scale, we're using this, but we're also using that kind of tonality. So what we've got is now, if you had them play it like that, on the record, the actual choice of notes is that's it. So that is track 1, side 1, Let Me In.